Welcome to the Sport and Society Squad pod, aka The Sass. Each week, we bring you 3 sport or society stories to break down and give you our sassiest takes. With those sassy takes, we do want to give you a content warning that some of the language used on the pod may be explicit. We ask that you just please be mindful of where you are listening and who you are listening with. With that, let's get into it. I'm here with my co-hosts, Wahida and Chelsea. How we doing, ladies? What's going on?
What's up, friends?
Hi, it's allergy season, so I'm struggling. So if you hear sniffles, which isn't like rare, I feel like I'm always sneezing and coughing on this thing, but like it feels aggravated. So that's what's happening.
So spring is here.
Spring has
sprung.
Hey, I was gonna say jinx.
Look at us. It's like we're on a podcast together on every week. But anyways, before we get into the playbook for today, I just want to go through a quick huddle. We will cover a few sport and society highlights from this past week so our listeners feel like they're in the know with the sports and pop culture world. So here are a few highlights that we think are worthy to break, are not what? What am I saying? We won't be breaking down, but are worthy to note. Jesus fucking Christ. And again, you'd think after like months of this, I'd have that down, but I don't. So in sport news, in college football news, former LSU receiver Kyron Lacey was found dead Saturday night in Houston. Lacey played 3 seasons at LSU after starting his career at Louisiana.
Sad.
Yeah,
it's very
really
sad.
Sending love
Very
to his
young.
family.
Very, well, yeah.
2000.
Young, but I believe you.
He was born
Really?
in
That
2000.
was his birth year?
Mhm. Yeah.
Dang. Okay.
So sending love to his family.
Exactly. Tennessee quarterback Nico Lamalifa is holding
I think that's an I.
Oh, is that? That's a capital I. I was like Lamalifa. That's great. I could do this. Sorry to that man. Nico is holding out of spring practice as he and his reps are seeking an NIL deal worth $4 million per year.
It's happening now in college. This is crazy, guys.
Money.
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine?
I don't know whether to be like, get your coin or not.
I don't either. Conflicted.
Like, all right. What
That's
we're
a
gonna
conversation.
say.
No, that's just a whole
Yeah.
other like segment.
The never-ending NIL question.
We're
Mhm.
not going to break it down in depth.
No, we're
okay?
not breaking it down.
Yes.
In college basketball news, the Florida Gators won the 2025 men's NCAA basketball championship. So,
What a game.
congrats to them.
What a game.
Did you watch it?
I did. I was in Florida. I was in a household.
Oh, that's right.
Florida fans.
That's
Holy crap. Wow. Good for them. In NBA news, I can never say this. Nikola Jokic.
Yep.
I don't know.
Close enough. Call him the Joker.
Yo, chick. Yo,
The
chick.
Joker is the first center in NBA history to have average a triple-double for the season. He joins Russell Westbrook and Oscar Robertson as the only 3 players in NBA history to average a triple-double.
Do we know what a triple-double is?
I feel like maybe you guys told me one time and it didn't stay.
Your stat is
I think you
over
had it.
10. So over 10 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. It could be like 10 steals.
I think the triple-double of it all confuses me.
It's like a
Like
burger.
the name of it. Yeah. So congrats to those 3 men who've done it, I guess.
They're a
In
triple double
women's basketball-
themselves.
Yeah. Oh, in women's basketball, Paige Bucker is projected to go number 1 in tomorrow's NBA draft, has signed a 3-year deal with Unrivaled. Oh, that's cool. Her first-year salary with Unrivaled exceeds what she would make in her entire 4-year rookie scale contract with
Wild.
in the W. What
In
does
the
that
W.
mean?
That means that WNBA still pays shit money. So
Yeah.
this new league pays the players better.
But the W just means the W.
WNBA.
NBA.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was like, I get the money, but in the W,
Oh.
I've not heard that
The
phrase
W
before.
Hotel.
I'm like, George W is going to be there? I'm sorry. My nose will not stop running. It's itching. In NASCAR news, Brianna Daniels is NASCAR's first Black female tire changer.
Congrats.
Fuck.
That's awesome.
That's really cool. I love to end the sports on a highlight like that. Well, the sports highlights on a high. No, who cares? In society, In fashion news, Prada has agreed to purchase rival fashion house Versace. Didn't know that was a thing. The deal is reportedly valued at $1.4 billion. So no big
That's
deal.
crazy.
I
It's
know.
like
I wonder
two fashion house icons merging.
what will
Yeah.
they be?
Proverci.
Now. Prada. Fadici. I don't know, but that's
Versace.
in
Versace.
Ooh, that was probably the best one. I like that.
Wait, is
Or
always good at that.
Verada.
Verada.
That also, yeah, it works. In more sad news, I hate to break it to it, Grey's Anatomy and Euphoria star Eric Dane shared with the public last week that he was recently diagnosed with ALS. So
That's
sending
sad.
love
Sending
his
love,
way.
yeah.
I'll just go on the record and say I was always team McSteamy. So
Same.
this is especially hard for the steamies out there. LeBron James made history this week with his Mattel Ken doll that was unveiled. I almost said unrevealed. Unveiled. And it's the first
Unveiled.
male
Unveiled?
athlete.
Unveiled.
Unveiled? What did I say?
Unveiled.
I don't know. You guys, I can't. I wrote this and I can't.
I love it.
But he's the first male athlete to have his likeness depicted as a Ken doll. So I think that's kind of cool. He was used as a kickoff for the toy manufacturer's Ken Ambassador series. So
Yeah, people are calling
like-
it
like
the
what?
LeBron bee.
Like
the
Barbie.
Barbie. LeBron.
LeBron
bee.
I actually really love that. All of a sudden,
LeBron
it's a
bee.
kid with this huge doll of LeBron James, like way bigger than all the others.
I know. I was like, is it like matching his size?
It's
Like
up to your
scaled? I
kneecap.
don't know.
That's fucking funny. This one was cool. If you caught one of our episodes a few weeks ago, you'll know that we talked about Miss Rachel, and you'll understand why this is a big one. Congrats to Miss Rachel and her family, who shared this past week that they welcomed a new baby girl to their family via surrogate.
Hey,
So-
yeah, everyone
See,
get off
leave
her
her
back.
alone.
Alone.
She is a
Just
new
let her
mother.
live. Yes. Jesus Christ. And then the sex slaves of college girls has officially been canceled after 3 seasons. The efforts to find a new home for the series did not pan out. That's actually devastating.
I wonder what the percentage of kids that leave college after their third year is, because this would be really fitting.
Fuck. They just needed one more season.
I know.
Just one more
Just
season
one
and
more.
they get their degree.
Somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody.
Oh, I guess we'll never know.
Well, we might. It could be a future topic. College students dropping out. Society, help us. Adolescence director Philip Baranti is in talks to helm the film
Helm, yeah,
adaptation
yeah.
of best-selling author. I can't do it, you guys. The best-selling novel, The Alchemist. So,
Film adaptation.
okay,
Feel bad.
yeah. You guys, I'm
Ooh,
blaming it
we
on-
got
Damn.
through it, Chelsea.
I
We
know.
got
Fuck
through
me.
it.
Barely.
Yeah,
but we did it.
Yay! Round of applause for Chelsea. Thank you for taking us through that huddle. But now on to today's playbook. We'll start by discussing the WNBA Draft Day. Then we'll recap all of the highlights from Coachella Weekend 1. And lastly, we'll finish by breaking down all that went down with the Masters this past weekend. So with that, I'm going to kick it off to our first topic. Arisan, take it away.
Yay. Okay. So I got to say at the top of this that it was kind of confusing to figure out how to talk about it because as of this recording, because we record on Monday mornings, the draft is this evening, Monday night. But by the time you all are hearing it in your ears, it will have been Thursday. So the draft will have happened. And so therefore, I want to talk more on the background and what goes down in the WNBA. So if you're like, what? I don't understand that pick or how these teams got what picks, you'll understand that. And not as much talking draft projections because I don't want to look like a dum-dum. So
One hot take.
one hot take. So I will say just this last week, have you guys seen the film Draft Day? It's a 20
Yeah, I just
2014
watched
film.
it.
You did watch it. Okay.
Whoa,
So
fuck.
it's for listeners, it's a great sports film. It's a 2014 film. It has like Kevin Costner as Jennifer Gardner, has Chadwick Boseman, and it's the whole film is one day of of NFL Draft Day.
It's
So it goes-
insane.
It's a like high pass. So it's like coaches calling each other players, getting ready for draft day, internal teams, like researching players, figuring out who fits. And so it kind of made me, as the WNBA draft is coming up, be like, let's dig into the draft, because there's a lot of things that happen behind the curtain that we don't know about. And it's a really high stakes day. And it's for all sports. But we're talking WNBA draft since that's the first one coming up. So just a little background. The first draft for the WNBA was in 1997. Right now, there are 38 people that will get drafted in this year's draft. And it's a three-round draft with 12 picks in the first round and 13 in the next 2 rounds. So remember, there's 13 teams. Why there's 12 picks is the Las Vegas Aces do not have a first-round draft pick after it was rescinded by the league for violating league rules regarding player benefits. So again, people and teams can get punished by losing draft picks. So they lost their first round. They'll have a pick in the
second and third.
Yes.
Wow.
And so one thing that is interesting is, which I didn't know, is the first 4 picks are picked via lottery, and then the picks go in reverse order. So usually, you would think the team that got last got the first round pick the following year. And for WNBA, that would be LA Sparks. But how it works is the last 4 teams that go in a lottery for the first 4 picks, and then that's how it's done. So right now, the first pick goes to the Dallas Wings, not LA Sparks, even though they were the worst team last year. And then followed by the Storm will get the second pick, and then the Mystics will get the third. And up until, yesterday, which was Sunday, people can make trades and deals for picks and teams, right? So even though the draft hasn't happened, so when you look at actually the draft order, you'll see that there's a lot of teams that have multiple picks in a round. So for example, the Indiana Fever don't have any picks in the first round because they made like
Trades.
4-person trades, right? The Mystics have the most first round picks with 3, and then followed by Dallas and the Suns have 2 first round picks. So all in the first round. So it kind of,
Dang.
yeah.
Look out for those teams.
Exactly. Another thing that's cool this year is the Valkyries, the new WNBA team. They are in this draft, and so they get the 5th pick. So they get the first pick out of the
lottery
after the lottery. And so it's really cool to see the WNBA expanding. We're expected to see Toronto and Portland, I believe, next year in next year's draft. So that's another thing. One thing that's different than like the NBA and other drafts is the WNBA draft. It's done live, but there's not a draft clock. So there's not like in the NFL, I think also in the NBA, especially in the movie Draft Day, which you got to go see it now. There's the clock, and you guys when
it's
you
like
did
a
your mock,
3-minute.
well, it's long. It's
Isn't it short?
Longer.
Oh,
I mean, I think it's like 10 or so. I mean, when we did our mock draft for team picking, it's 2 minutes, but I think they get a little bit more time because they're like calling players and stuff.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
but there is no draft clock for the WNBA. Another thing that's different from the NBA and WNBA, which I also didn't know, which is really interesting, is that for WNBA prospects, if you're domestic, so if you live in the U.S., you must be 22 years old during the year of the draft, have completed your college eligibility, or set to graduate within 3 months.
You have to be?
Yeah. So in the WNBA, you can't be like an NBA where you could go freshman year or go straight from high school.
And you need a job when you retire. You don't make enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit. They're not paying enough.
Yeah. So I thought that was a really cool like tidbit that WNBA definitely prioritizes like education and development on that side more than the NBA does. But to your point, Chelsea, they also get paid shit. So they kind of have to. But hopefully that's changing. So that's another interesting thing with this draft is the collective bargaining agreement for the WNBA is set to expire at the end of 2025, which means there might be like strike, there might be there's talks about all these different things that could happen, which is why you saw quite a few players like we talked about last week, Flau'jae Johnson, who elected to stay one more year to see how that all was going out, because I don't think for rookies and stuff, they can't just do 1-year contracts, right? It's going to be like they're signing contracts. So it's like a 4-year contract. So the people that are saying, hey, let me wait 1 year, and then hopefully they'll have better 4-year contracts. So that's kind of like the background. Something also significant, which I think is really important to note for like women's basketball, is multiple things, but one is they never seem to have breaks because they're trying to make that money. But especially for college, like it rolls right into the professional season in a way that it doesn't in the NBA. So for example, the tournament ended April 6th, right? That was the final game. The draft is April 14th, so like a week later. And then they have to report to training camp on April 27th.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. And the season for the WNBA kicks off on May 16th.
God damn,
like some of them haven't graduated by the time the season starts. So they have to go back, or they don't get to go to graduation.
Yeah. So it like just that's like wear and tear on the body when you think about how long the college basketball season is, and then you're jumping right into it, and then these rookies are wanting to perform or needing to perform, and going into the different NBA level is crazy. So that's kind of the background. I think the biggest thing, Paige Buckets is projected to be number 1. So if she doesn't get number 1, then I can eat my words on that one. I feel pretty good about that.
I think everyone would eat their words, because I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
That is like a guarantee.
But it'll be fun. That'll be fun to see 38 players coming in the draft. Like last year, what was really cool, like Kate Martin, who is at Las Vegas. Wait, did she get traded? No, she got traded.
She's in the
Valkyries. Yeah, okay, the Valkyries. But she was in the stands as a spectator last year, as like a fan to support Caitlin Clark, because that was her teammate. And she was drafted number 18. And so she was just like they panned to her sitting in like the
like the fan, like in the
back fan
of
seat.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Like getting drafted. So that was a fun little change.
That feels like a rom-com book too. But
and then
really?
like the last thing I'll say, which is just something to keep an eye out, is the kind of I don't know if it's drama or I can't think of the word, but
headline
is Sedona Prince, who we've talked about here a little bit, is whether or not she will be drafted. And so, because at least 4 women have publicly accused her of sexual assault or intimate partner violence in the last few months. Wow. But she hasn't been charged with a crime yet. And she's 6'7". She will be 25 by the time the WNBA season. So she's older. And there's a lot of talk around, should we draft her, should we not? And then there's people like, well, if she was a man, they wouldn't worry about that. And then other people being like, well, she wasn't committed of a crime. And then other people are like, shouldn't we hold women
to the same standard?
To the same standard? But also, does the WNBA have a higher standard of all that? So that's my drama. That's the background. Stay tuned to see where all these ladies are going.
Will we know? Is it tonight? Will we know if Sedona is?
It's tonight.
We'll know tonight. Yeah,
we'll know by the time of this recording.
I know I read a few headlines where I think there was an article where they had talked to a few different GMs. Like you said, Arison, some of them were saying, we should hold them to a high standard, or hold the WNBA to a high standard. So we're not even touching it because they don't want like any of the backlash that might come with recruiting her. And then also there are other teams who are like, well, like if she were a man, like there are men in the league, the NBA, that have done worse and are also still in the league. So like there's 2 sides of the argument there, and I can see both sides being like really viable, but it'd be really interesting to see, because I also heard, she was in college for quite a while. She was like had eligibility for a long time. So I also heard that she folks are saying she's not that solid of a center in her position. So it'll be interesting to see if, what is actually going to play in her favor or not. But one thing that I noticed about this draft, like last year, there were a lot of big names, I think, coming out of college basketball. And there was so much more coverage around the draft or leading up to the draft. Like it like flowed so well from the championship into the WNBA draft. And I feel like this year there hasn't been as much of that, especially on like the socials side of things.
Yeah.
There aren't as much like stories or like as much coverage on the current players that are in the draft pool, aside from, like Paige, of course, but even then still not that many.
Yeah.
So I was
agree.
like, it's happening to on Monday, and I don't feel like it's a draft weekend at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I just found it funny because you would think that they would capitalize on the like momentum
think.
from last year. But I guess
we're still having to convince people that women's sports, everyone watches women's sports, and part of that is coverage, because how else are people going to know about it unless you do coverage? And I don't know if last year it was during the Masters weekend, but I think ESPN, when I was like looking for like just like updates and stuff through the ESPN app, it was like Masters, NBA, college football news, and then you had to scroll to get to the here's the WNBA draft breakdown, and I was like, okay, son of a bitch.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. We'll be excited to talk about who gets drafted next week, and who lands on what team. But if we're ready, we'd like to take us to the desert, because weekend 1 of Coachella 2025 just wrapped up this past weekend, or as of this recording last night. And I've never been, but I hear about it all the time, and I want to break it down. Like, there's a lot of history around it, and then of course there's the controversial side of it too. But just some FYI, once I break this down, you'll probably understand like why I have never been, but I want to hear like why other folks might not have attended. But just to get us started, Coachella started way back in '99, but the festival's origin way back.
Getting the
It's
way
old
back
school
machine.
now, yeah.
Okay.
But it does trace back to way back to 1993, where Pearl Jam. Because I was born way before that, but anyway,
my first year of life.
But it does trace back to a concert that Pearl Jam performed at one venue like in the area, and they did that concert to boycott Ticketmaster and their control of all ticket sales, which is really
God damn.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The irony in that though is that those tickets are probably sold on Ticketmaster now, I think. So
No,
it's really
100%.
funny. Yeah. So before it started off as a low-key independent and like a little kind of like rebellious like festival. The first festival lost money, so Fire Festival still has a chance to
come back,
climb
Fire
back up. Yeah,
2.0. There's going to be a Fire Festival.
Yeah,
2.0.
yeah. So who knows? This might be the new Coachella. I don't know. But like nowadays we know it as one of the biggest festivals, like I think music festivals out there. We had Beyonce and Homecoming. We had Coachella. Meg The Stallion put on a really great performance today. There's so many great like headliners and stuff. So it's such a big deal, and there's so many things that go into it. And I feel like so many influencers and stars have kind of started to infiltrate it. Like it's becoming this thing where it's just a place to be seen, to see and be seen.
It's true.
But to go over the highlights from this year, if you all are familiar, the weekend is 3 days long. It went from 2 days to 3 days, and there's just a whole like slate of artists all throughout the weekend. I don't even know how many. I want to say it's upwards of 100.
And it's
different
2
artists.
weekends now, right?
It's 2
It
weekends,
used to be
yeah.
1 weekend, and now it's 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 2 weekends, same performances though, same artists. Like it's not, unless they change. I don't think they change it too drastically. Like they perform for both weekends.
Okay.
But this year's highlights, we had Doja Cat, we had Megan Thee Stallion. They both slayed their performances. Meg, excuse me. Meg even brought out Yeah, Meg even brought out Sierra and Victoria Monet and Queen Latifah to her set. So
That's awesome.
really cool. Lady Gaga, of course, put on a show. People are saying like that's up there with Beyonce. It looked like a music video the entire time.
Ooh,
So
I
I'd
have to
be
go watch
curious.
that.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if she like did a special, like does a special with her performance,
Yeah.
like Beyonce did. Missy Elliott and T-Pain also showed everyone like what legends do, and this also picked up the T-Pain Super Bowl campaign. So I'm right back on that board where
That's
T-Pain needs to
insane, but I
have a
love it.
whole Super Bowl performance. Put both of them on. Shoot. And then, of course, this one was probably one of the more controversial stories of this past weekend. But Green Day headlined, I think it was the second night. And, you know, of course, Green Day, as Green Day does, they had some.
I love Green Day.
They stood on their principles, right? And we love that. And they said some things that folks felt were really political, which is funny because if you don't think that Green Day is political, you haven't been listening to them ever.
Hello,
Like, what?
American idiot.
Yeah, like you missed the whole song. Well, they started off
Green Day.
They started off that song with saying something about not being part of the MAGA agenda. They also mentioned something about Palestine, supporting Palestine. So, you know, of course, the real fans of Green Day know exactly that. That's what you should expect with Green Day, but there was a lot of controversy around that. There was also some conversation around Green Day being the headliner and Charlie XCX being like the second titled headliner, or this, you know, the one right below them. And people were saying like she should have been the headliner. Green Day is like irrelevant. They don't
say old. Old was going to come
no.
out of your mouth. Oh,
well, I mean, that's what people were saying. I'm not saying they're old because they were my era. But, you know, like there's a lot of controversy around that. People were really pushing Charlie XCX as the true headliner. But you saw her performance. She was on stage by herself. No backup dancers, no nothing. So not going to lie, it was not very entertaining to me. But that leads me to also highlight the fact that Green Day called out the audience because everyone had their phones out and they were like, put them away. People will believe that you're at Coachella. Just enjoy the show. Like, just plug into the show. So I love them for calling them out for that. But that's becoming more and more of a thing because, you know, again, it's influencer riddled event now. And of course, with Coachella, an event this large, it doesn't come without its own controversies. So first, of course, there is the cultural appropriation of it all. I think every year someone shows up with a headdress or like a bindi, like it's an accessory, you know, that they should be wearing. And no matter how many times people talk about it or speak up on it, it still happens. I think the fashion trends are changing. I think folks are starting to listen a little bit better, because this year I saw a lot more of I don't know, futuristic, like clothing, like folks were going like
effect.
yeah. And then of course there's I don't think folks know about this one so much, but there is like the money trail controversy where Coachella being owned by Golden Voice, which is under a company called AEG, that's their CEO Philip Unschwitz has a history of donating to anti-LGBTQ plus pro-gun and climate denial orgs, which is really interesting because he's tried really hard to walk back all of that stuff, but it's really complicated because he already, you know, paid.
Did it?
Yeah.
You already got money, blood money in your hands.
Yeah. And the festival itself is so big, right? It appeals to so many different audiences, and some of those audiences are the ones that he's like actively trying to target. Yeah. And so that's a lot of the controversy there with the festival, not to mention that it's out in the desert, super hot. There's not really great facilities. People are camping out in like 100-degree heat all weekend. There aren't any there are few showers for however many thousands of people that there are. And, you know, it costs a lot of money. I'm curious what you all think the cost of the festival is. Like if you got general admission.
No, the tickets are like $500 something, right?
Yeah, $600
just for the ticket. You gotta think
ticket.
transportation.
not going to that.
boarding.
Yeah, ever.
So a lot of people camp out, but I don't know. It's big. It's become such a big cultural moment. People like wait for this every single year. Some people go both weekends, which is freaking wild to
Crazy.
me. But as it's interesting to think about Coachella being a music festival that has transformed into something completely different. Like now it's just like a photo shoot. People really go just to
It
be
feels-
seen, like I mentioned.
It's
Yeah.
true.
It
I don't
feels
know,
very
would you all-
commercial.
hmm So those for those reasons alone, that's something that was never interesting to me. Also, was that many people I can't hear or see the artist anyway. But they've started
Yeah.
doing Coachella, which is awesome. So I would not mind just
Whoa.
sitting on my couch watching on YouTube or whatever it's on. But I don't know.
do love that.
What are your
I would
thoughts on
never.
it?
Yeah, I would never go. I feel like there was a period of time, and I'm going to say 2013 was about the time when I was like a junior in college, and it was like all over social media. And I remember being like, oh my God, I want to go to this.
Yeah.
You would never catch me at an event like that. Like, I will go see the Divas in concert. I don't want to be with that many people. And
Like
then
when they
they're
do
all
a
on
residency?
camping. Yeah, like I'm gonna go see like going to see Beyonce this summer will be crazy for me. One, I want to see the diva, but like that's gonna be a lot of people, and that's just one person. I have a ticket. I don't even have to move because all these stages are all over that like
Yeah.
grounds in Coachella, and then at the same place they have Stagecoach, which was like what a couple weeks before or after. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just throw camping in there and you'll never catch me. But I think it was like very, very popular. And I agree with you that it's just like, it just sucks that it's turned into like go and take pictures place. And it's also like, I feel like some big artists like Lady Gaga, Beyonce really brought like the big
The
concert
crowd.
moment, which makes it worth it to go. But I don't know. I don't know. I hate that it's just like a place to go see, or like what were the celebrities' outfits there? And it's like that's not we're there to see the artists, like not the celebrities who are watching the artists, even if they are.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's definitely changed over the years. The fact that Pearl Jam started it, well, and like influenced the start of it, and then like they have Green Day. I appreciate that those parts of it, but I think it was also in college where I like looked at tickets to go. I went to the Sasquatch Festival up here, and I was like, yeah, Coachella would be fun. It was back when it was 1 weekend, 2-day, maybe 3-day, and I like actually looked into it but it is a lot of money, and I think too with social media it becomes an influencer. Like you go to do work. I was like reading articles that like it's changed. Like before social media was big, you'd only see like celebrities or co-mingling with people, and like it was more of like the fun of the music and the festival, and you could just kind of be free in the desert. But now everyone's being recorded, everything's being like having to be like branded, everything's having to be like money here. It's like it's a work event for a lot of people, and it's like go go go. And so it's not as appealing to me ever. I mean, now if someone were to give me a free ticket to Coachella and the most VIP experience ever, like if if I had the Anne Hathaway
like
experience,
a trailer.
what's that?
You fall in love with someone who's literally all of a sudden we see you in Italy next summer.
Yeah, like yeah, I won't say no, but am I gonna spend my own personal money to go and plan? Absolutely fucking not.
Well, so many people I'm reading, like I think 60% of people finance their tickets. So they put a down payment and they pay it off throughout the year because they're spending like between $1,500 and $2,000 for the entire experience, right? So
I get
it.
Maybe
it's kind of
1 year.
1 year, yeah. But folks go
every time. I don't know. That's kind of crazy.
It is really interesting though, the irony of like it starting off as a protest against these big like conglomerate
people
companies
getting mad at Green Day for being Green Day.
And then now it's like, oh, that's exactly what it is. It's like
what has become.
Yeah.
It's become the epitome of what it was trying to be against.
But I find it interesting because I did see Bernie Sanders was there, and he was going to support someone who had a lot of protest songs. So it almost felt like there was a few people trying to
Yeah, but
plant
then
some seeds of like, hey, let's get back to the original point of. I just saw a quick
Yeah.
article on that and thought, wow,
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting.
but it's
'cause,
also
like,
but
never
that
caught like
I
somebody
think
else
Claro.
political
He was there to announce Claro.
but that also to me is like people go to be seen. Because why else would Bernie
He knows
Sanders
there's
go?
an audience.
There's there's an audience there, which
that,
it's
or he's trying to
political.
support that artist who has a message that he believes in.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
And use his image, like we're always saying, to bring awareness to somebody who's speaking on facts.
But
That's
even
the way to
like
look at it.
I think that I saw that too, and of course Green Day was there, so it's really interesting juxtaposition of like what the festival has become, and then
Yeah.
how like there are. I think the audience for the most part is probably aligned with what Bernie was saying and Green Day was saying because Stagecoach is probably the opposite, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm
You're
not gonna
not
lie,
wrong.
like I think they had the right audience, but it's just really interesting how that audience is plugged into that message, but also kind of behaving in a way that's kind of counter to the message that they're trying to.
Well, because they have to be wealthy. Like a lot of people that go to Coachella is like for the wealthy people that could have like that's the wealthy people festival. Like that's what I remember it as. Is like you had to have the money to be able to like
It's true.
go. But
And so everyone's doing the same thing next weekend?
yeah.
Yep. Well, it might be a different
Run
group
it
of
back.
people. I did hear that week 1 is usually influencer, like, it's see and be seen. Week 2 is more about the music. Like, folks are actually there for the vibes. So we'll see. But I do want to see these performances. I saw a few clips, and I feel like you can stream them from home.
Well, I'm excited because I just bought Lady Gaga tickets last week. So I feel like maybe this is a preview for the concert. I don't know. But thank you for taking us through that.
Yeah.
That was super interesting. I didn't know the backstory of it. And I'm pissed that we're still fighting fucking Ticketmaster. Like, tell me why the tickets on
It's gotten
SeatGeek
worse.
or whatever the fuck are less expensive than Ticketmaster. Like, directly from Climate. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, I'm going to transition us back. I know last week we kind of gave like a little golf update, but we're just going to go over the Masters really quickly because that occurred this past weekend. I actually went, this is going to sound crazy, like to a sick Masters party. There was a lot of fucking food. Someone made these cookies that like had all the little golf. I don't know. It was fucking cool. I'm like, you should get paid to do this. And I don't know. It was like good food, good friendship. That's like what sports does, right? Like even golf, if you can believe it, like brings us together. So
I love that.
snaps for golf because you can't clap too loud.
You can't.
So this past weekend was the majors tournament, was the Masters, which is one of the major tournaments. I will
Still
say that
wrapping my head around that one.
No, Sean and I had to have a lot of conversations. My husband was like laughing out loud at work because he was like, that was insanity trying to explain golf. And then he was telling me, I can't remember if it's like the live tournament where like, I don't even want to get into it. There's like racking up points. It's confusing. It's not just confusing for us, is all I can confirm. But the tournament this last weekend, if you can believe it, actually got pretty spicy. Like it came down to the last couple, like 5 or 6 holes, which there's 18 on the last day, which like, fuck me. I kept like looking at the screen, like, what hole are we on? They'd be like 8. Okay, it's been an hour and a half.
Shit.
So we're a third through or whatever, like, fuck me. But yeah, it got really crazy. So the last 5 or 6 holes, there was a 3-way tie going on. And as they're going through it, they're like, someone went right into a sand trap. Someone went into water, and they're just going up and down in the 3, and then they're tying, and then they're just dropping up and down. People were like freaking out, at least at the party I was at. That one guy, Rory, was just going to lose his shit. Apparently this has happened a couple of times where he's like leading, loses the whole tournament. So, and he's the one that did go in the water and the sand trap.
He did both.
He did both. So it was just,
Rory.
I got stressed, you guys. Like there was one time the ball like literally was going and it was just like right to the hole and stopped. I was like, what the fuck? Can we all stomp on the ground to make it go in? Like, what is this?
So like let the wind pick up a little bit.
Literally. So I will say, like, I did not anticipate getting that stressed out about golf, but I did. And this is where it's crazy. So on the 18th hole, it ended in a tie. with the Irish pro Rory McIlroy and English pro Justin Rose.
Oh,
And so
not the Irish and the English.
no,
There's history there.
Exactly. And this is crazy. So do you know what happens when there's a tie? It becomes like sudden death. Have you
In
heard
golf?
of this in golf? In
I-
golf.
Did they
I don't
call
know
it
what it
sudden death?
Yeah, sudden death or overtime, but sudden death is what I
Okay.
kept hearing. And I was like, I don't know, me and the other like wives / girlies that were at the party all kind of like looked at each other like, more? It had been like 4 hours. Like, holy
Golf
fuck.
bags.
Wine was flowing. Okay. So it's overtime, which I don't know. So how it works though is that whoever's tied at the 18th hole, which is what happened yesterday, they go back. I want to make sure I say this right. They play the 18th hole again. So they just play that last hole again to see what happens. If they're tied again at the 18th hole, they go and play the 10th hole again. And
What?
it goes back and forth like that until someone goes to the top.
They go
Just-
from the 10th hole, or they only do the 10th hole?
No,
again?
they only do the 10th hole and the 18th hole. And they'll
Interesting
do
that
the
it's the
18th
10th
hole
hole.
and then they'll do the 10th hole and then they'll do the 18th hole. Yeah.
And
Which
but
is crazy.
obviously each person gets a shot at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
each person gets a shot. They
Okay,
have
yeah.
to. Otherwise, like,
But yeah, that doesn't make sense. Got it.
it doesn't make, yeah. So what happened yesterday is they played the 18th hole again, and then the person came out on top, which was Rory McIlroy, the Irishman won.
Hey.
For Ireland.
Irish, for Ireland.
For Ireland vibe. But literally,
In
so
a
he
British-
took home up. No, well, I was trying Irish, but I don't know how to fucking do that. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to pretend. Just go listen to like Niall Horan from One Direction. You'll get it. Anyway, he took home a purse that was just like a mere $4.2 million for winning. So NVD on that as well.
Oh my
But I
gosh.
will say it was the 12th time that there was a sudden death. The last time being in 2017.
Oh,
So,
wow.
It's been a while.
yeah, it's been a little bit. And then this I also found was kind of crazy because I've never heard it in these terms. But did you know in golf you can get a grand slam?
No.
In a
one
tournament, Matt? What's it called? The
Mm,
golf?
Yeah, it's called a grand slam, and it just means that if you win all 4 major major tournaments in the PGA, that's the grand slam.
I thought you were
Which-
yeah, okay.
No, I know, but I was like, why are we talking about grand slams in golf? Like, I know it in the baseball sense, but what the fuck? Like, I don't know. So why it's a big deal is that Rory is the first person to get a grand slam in 25 years. So this was a big deal on Sunday that he
Wow.
got it because the last person who did it was Tiger Woods, and he's been chasing it for 11 years. So
Wow.
that's why he's been kind of choking at the end sometimes in this tournament because it's about to get like the biggest, accolade of his career.
Yeah.
And he's also the 6th person in history to do it. So it was just like a big day for Rory in general.
Go ahead, Rory.
I know. And then one other fact that was like completely taking me out was that the runner up, Justin Rose, it was his 3rd time being the runner up. And it was his 2nd time losing in sudden death. So he was the last person in the sudden death.
Oh, Justin. Maybe 4th time's a
was-
charm.
I fucking hope. But
Hopefully.
I was just like, oh my God, like that's rich. But also don't feel too bad because he also walked away with $2.268 million in money. So
His purse was worth that much. Wow.
yeah. So I don't feel too bad. But what are your
Well,
thoughts?
My thoughts are, I had a question. How,
Yeah.
you said it was 4 hours for this thing?
I mean, I was watching, I got to the place, it started at 11 and we didn't get fully done till like 4,
Oh, shit.
I want to say.
Okay.
Girl, it was, here, let me
Wow.
look at the timestamp.
Do
on
they
my-
have like breaks or anything? You know how like, I don't know, in baseball there's a 7th inning stretch and they included the time clock so the games are much shorter now. Like I wonder if golf is ever going to
I
go in
don't
that
think so.
direction.
Yeah, so at 3:32, we were still out
There.
on the deck watching. Yeah.
Wow.
Like I don't know. I don't think they get breaks because if they're caddy coming with them and they're just walking from hole to hole. Because I mean, it takes a long ass time, and there's multiple people going, right? So, they have like people who start at different times. So that's one interesting thing that
staggered.
I thought is like you could start before somebody that's ahead of you technically, and you could play a great match of golf, and you have to wait until that person catches up with you. Like you could finish and be either tied or in the lead, but you're not going to know if you're going to win or not until the other person who was behind you that had a higher score from the days before. I thought that was like interesting because like you could just wait, and then I know I'd rather be like waiting to see if I won versus like having to keep playing really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't know.
It sounds way more intense than I ever thought golf could be. Because with the sudden death and the ties and stuff, like, and the fact that they keep going back and forth, like there isn't like something that determines it after a certain amount. It just keeps going until somebody wins, which is wild because they could literally be out there for so long.
Well, and there was like, I can't remember which of the major tournaments, but Sean was telling me that one of them, I want to say it was the US Open. I could be so wrong. But one of them that is if you tied at the end of like the third day, like what happened on Sunday, you would literally have to play another 18 holes the next day. And they changed it in like 2018 or something. Can you imagine you tie and you have to do a fourth day of the tournament?
No.
You
know how we were talking about Coachella being like outrageously freaking expensive? One thing that I did learn about the Augusta or whatever was that all of their food prices have not changed or the concession prices have not changed since the inception of this like tournament.
That's cool.
So like pizza or whatever, hot dogs or whatever, like still $1.25 and things of that sort, which is so funny and kind of interesting because the crowd
can afford it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. This is why they can afford it.
But I will say, it's like a lottery to go. So you have to apply to be in part of a lottery and being selected to go. I mean, you still have to fund yourself there, and then imagine what the hotels are like. So I imagine you still have to have some sort of money in the bag, but you don't just get to like pay to 100% go. I don't believe. Yeah. So it is interesting if like, I don't know, one of us just like randomly applied. Maybe it wouldn't be so out of reach at some fancy, country club. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I don't know. I did think the other thing that we could talk about later is that the winner then selects the championship meal for the next year. So they all have like a big meal, I think like the Tuesday before the event. And so Rory gets to pick the menu next year, and you get to put whatever you want on it. So someone did like cheeseburger sliders, like what are they called? Like a cookie, like a hot cookie on a skillet with ice cream as a dessert. A pizookie. Like you get to literally do. So we should do that time. What's your like master's meal if you could select? Mine's gonna be McDonald's.
That's gonna be yours.
Just be like, really? Hey, let's get let's get like a McFlurry machine in here and see what happens.
Oh wow.
With green M&Ms.
I was thinking like a whole different. I'm like, we're doing steak and lobster,
like Wagyu beef.
Yes, I want all of that.
I think someone did that. Yeah. So it was actually a really cool weekend.
Amazing.
Very cool. Okay, well, I think it's time for us to wrap the pod for today. I thank you, Chelsea, for bringing us through the Masters because now I feel like I'm interested in watching golf
You're
a little bit more.
You're a master of golf.
Yeah, maybe. But listeners, let us know what stories you want us to cover for next week.
And don't forget to hit follow and subscribe to our show on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple, and turn on those frickin' notifications so you can stay up to date with all the latest sport and society stories.
And of course, please rate the pod. But in the meantime, stay sharp, stay sassy, and we'll catch you next time.